watching Weirdo Universe, where wonders take flight. Enjoy the show. I'm on,
I'm AJ.
and this is Weirdo Universe. Welcome for another episode. As you see, tonight's episode is called Rot and Root. You're probably wondering what is that all about. Well, if you saw our last stream, we were having a little talks on the series of Last of Us, and just a quick overview. Not like about a quick overview, but more of just the drama within it. But today we'll just try to do a quick summary, but might still focus on more of the commotion of that series. So make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Make sure to share with your folks. We want this channel to reach out and pretty much keep this stream alive. So it'll be very much appreciated if you can share it to your friends and family. So let's get right to it. We're going to resume our talks to The Last of Us. And in case you don't know what Last of Us is, it's pretty much a in a an apocalyptic series, but it's not just those ordinary like viruses that you see. It's about nature kind of taking over. So there's this fungus that's a real life thing called cordyceps, and in the reality, it only takes infected insects like ants, mainly ants, but I think spiders, etc. But in this sort of future utopian world, you could say, what if it could infect humans? So this series, before this became a series, this was once a video game back in 2013 or so, where 2013 or so, where it became a game. And people like as for AJ and most of the people who played it like, what the heck is this, Last of Us? And as the game went on, it like pretty much as the game went on for me when I played it, it really caught my attention because it wasn't just focused on the zombies. It was more of like kind of like life lessons in a way, in teaching. But as the game went on, I enjoyed it. There was a lot of There was a lot of interesting events. So I'll hand off to AJ to be a little more in depth about it as soon as we get a clear connection here.
Yes. Do you want me to kind of start off with the series or the video
Yeah,
game first? Because
this is a video game since that's how it first began.
all right, well, okay. So I don't know if they exactly go into exact detail the way that like the series kind of started off with like a little background into like the science behind it. They did, however, go into at least the start of the outbreak a bit, which we do see in the first game back in 2013 for The Last of Us. And it is, if you recall back from our last stream, it was a pretty heartbreaking um, in introduction to the game. It did have a very sad intro, and the death of Joel's daughter really set him down a really dark path. However, he was a good. He was a good. Shoot, what was it? Smuggler. That was it. Something else.
apologize, folks. With the looks like AJ's kind of going in and out a little
Yeah,
bit.
sorry. That better? A little bit?
I can hear. Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay. So, after Joel's daughter had died, this was during in the immediate sense of the outbreak, right when it started. And we get this father who did his best to protect his daughter during the outbreak, and then a very sad and sudden change in that was the death of Sarah, his daughter. And after that, he had really went down to a dark path, and yet I believe that darkness really set him out pretty well through the through his smuggling. Actually, um, he really was like the brute force between his teamwork with Tessa. No, that was her name, right?
Tessa. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I knew that. I knew he had called her Tess usually for short. So I wasn't sure if it was okay. Um. However, a little time passes by. You get the whole them looking for the weapons that they had bought off this I guess under the table type of arms dealer, I guess, in a sense. And instead it turned out that he had sold their weapons to the Fireflies. Now you're probably wondering who the Fireflies are. So before I get into a little bit on with the history to when our last stream we talked about them meeting Ellie for the first time. This is how they meet Ellie. Is that through the Fireflies is Marlene. She's the head of this organization, this just group of who are said to be terrorists in a sense.
It's said to be terrorists, but more they're like freedom fighters.
Yeah.
So like the term fire, like they use the word fireflies as if like, you see fireflies as like a glimpse of like hope, I guess you could say, like a chance of a way to survive and maybe save what's the rest of humanity.
Yeah. And during The Last of Us DLC, which is a little bit, we get an idea of kind of like a sort of prequel to the main storyline, which is set in modern time, basically. However, we get to meet Ellie and her best friend Riley, who I believe they had said, or at least kind of made it canon to where they were starting to have a more romantic relationship, right?
Yeah. So the story of Riley and Ellie, they were with the Fireflies, almost like not training, but they were just like,
well,
I don't know if it was training.
They weren't really training with the Fireflies exactly. Riley was for a time being. They were originally training with Fedra, which is like what we mentioned in the last stream, was basically the government military, in a sense, basically. And continue.
So pretty much, so the story of Left Behind is about Ellie and Riley, and the series, which we'll get to soon, does a really good in depth about it. But in the game, they do a quite quite well on like these two girls going to a mall, and the mall is like it's always shut down due since the outbreak, so everything's all ransacked and everything. But they they just go out, like they sneak out. It's kind of like I don't know if for people that have like daughters or even I don't know. AJ and I never done this, but just sneak out at night, go to a party, or like something like that. But in this case,
I
they
don't
did.
think I snuck out to go to a party or anything. I know that sometimes I'd kind of climb out my bedroom window and kind of just like sit on top of the garage, but I
Yeah.
think that was like at best.
Little off script side note, I sometimes even just go out the window of my bedroom and just sit on the roof and look out.
Really?
Yeah. Anyway, continuing on, back to the.
Well, I guess. Sorry, I don't mean to kind of continue on the sidetrack, but I guess we had that slightly in common. I kind of sat on the roof of the garage to my old house, and then.
Yeah, me, I have because the way this house is designed is a little roof section. But back.
Hey, I mean, sometimes you just got to kind of sit out and get some fresh air and clear your mind at times.
Yeah.
As long as you're doing it safely.
But going back to continuing on. So this is not what they did. They decided to sneak out, like go out somewhere, and I think I'm not sure what city it was placed in, but I think it was like I want to say Colorado, but I might be wrong. But they sneak out and they plan this in advance to meet somewhere and go. And Riley wanted like surprise, and for Ellie, so with Ellie, she was born after the outbreak, so she didn't know what current civilization was before all hell broke loose. So she had never knew about like all the stuff that we know today, from malls, parks, museums, all that. So so Riley had a little surprise. So they plan out, they sneak out, try to avoid the patrols that the Fireflies put out. And for Riley, since she's been there a while, she kind of knows the routes to sneak to avoid detection. So they escape. They kind of go outside the like camp or like headquarters, and they go to this mall, but not just specifically about the mall. That was like the surprise. She showed her like a Ferris wheel, and as you know, as for people, and they even have zoos,
Merry-go-round.
Yeah, merry-go-round. Like
the Ferris wheel is that big giant wheel that wouldn't fit into a mall.
Merry-go-round. But so that was their surprise, and for Ellie, she's like, "Wow, never seen it before," because she was born a little after the outbreak. But to know how they know each other enough, so I'm not sure if actually they ever clarify this, but for Ellie, her mom was a doctor, and in the game they actually did really well to kind of tell you what happened to her. But in the game perspective, she well actually no sorry the show did the exact same thing with the game told, at least gave a description of what happened to her, which was as she as she was giving birth, she did get bit by one.
Well, it was, I think, just before her going into labor.
Yeah, just before going into labor, she got bit by a zombie, and well, in this case, they weren't sure was the baby out of the womb before it happened, or was it just after? So no one knew, but of course knowing we'll get to the series of how dark it gets, but they didn't went too cruelty in there.
Yeah, the series definitely they add on to a whole nother level of gruesomeness than the game did. At
But
least in my opinion. I don't know about anybody else, but the show definitely added on this extra layer of gritty darkness onto the story. It was great.
yes, that's Ellie mom. In the show, they portrayed she gave birth. She gave birth. She got bit. We don't know what it was after or just or before. But of course, since she was bit, Riley, who not Riley, who was the Lady of the Fireflies? Not Riley,
Marlene?
Marlene, who was a friend of her Ellie's mom, and she had to shoot her because she was infected.
Yeah. Like
But
we said,
back to the
it's a
fair,
dark.
back to the fair. But Ellie and so Riley was trying to surprise, and like as in all relationships, you do the talk, you kind of flirt a little bit, but you're like you can see you're expressing your feelings, but it's like which one's gonna make the first move? They know they're in love, so who's gonna make the first move? Pretty much.
That was, I think, I gotta say, I don't mean to interrupt too much, but I gotta say, that was just such a wholesome thing between Riley and Ellie. I always thought it was so cute, just to like, even during this like apocalyptic scenario situation, you still kind of get those moments with somebody that you
And
actually
I feel
genuinely
like
care
what I
about.
think I wonder actually now thinking about it if that was the hidden message. Because even in dark times, like an apocalyptic world, now you're trying to at least trying to at least rebuild civilization. There's at least moments of love, happiness, anger, like all the good human emotions that we might
Yeah,
lose during that.
yeah, I gotta agree with that. Just because, I mean, it makes sense, especially when you like play the games long enough and you watch a show long enough. You really do get the sense of what is really basically the Last of Us, our emotions, what makes us in a sense. So I mean,
Like
getting to
there,
really see that
the
is
title
just,
could
it's beautiful.
the title could lead to that, but sometimes I wonder if the title is just like Last of Us, as in humans, like the
Me
last.
and Amon also speculated that maybe it wasn't just like about the amount of people that were still not affected, but more so less people who were still wanting to do good in the world even after this apocalyptic event. So that's another whole like theory on that, about the like deeper meaning in the name. But I mean, who knows?
But to sum it up quick of what happened, so something happened to Riley, and honestly, it made you think that, to be honest, could be a what if scenario if she could have lived, but honestly, she could have. But unfortunately, they're having fun, but knowing that places like a mall or a museum or a zoo, they're still the infected, like people that escape from cities to try to hide, but they got attacked by a zombie, and they hid and they turned. So there's always like moments. There's always like humans that try to survive in malls that die. So they're having fun. Like they were like in the game you play it. There's like you do a lot of side games from like. Well, I think the main one really was the squirt guns, where you kind of play a little hide and seek and you try to
Oh
like
God,
whoever can get.
that was a fun. Um, that was Yeah, no, I love that little like, um I guess you could say side quest to the game. That was just,
I'm
it
just
really gave you the sense of
basic
humanity.
main side quest, but as as it continued on, though, when they're having too much fun, but say they're like blasting the music, but they just figured, oh, we're alone, no one's here, we're just having fun. But well, for zombies, sure they could be blind as heck, but they can hear. And for something about infected people, your hearing is almost like a bat, you could say. But
Yeah,
like
that is just
when
like,
you play when you play something loud enough, zombies can still hear it. and so a horde of zombies just run. Well, we'll break down the infections, but just a horde of zombies. They started running, and they ran. There's this epic chase. So they get out on like a terrace or like outside the mall into like a little section, and this is in the game. In the movie, in the series, will explain how they did their part, just how they did Riley's death, but not right. No, yeah, Riley. I'm going back to Riley. I'm going back to the head of the Fireflies here. But so fortunately, zombies attacked, and they killed him. But this is where it gets very interesting. They both got bit. Ellie and Riley. And Riley dropped probably one of the heaviest quotes, or
Oh
like,
God.
I don't know, like life quotes. I don't know. It's life. Well, it's like it's a life quote, you could say, because it's like like the quote she says kind of tells you of like you got it, like even if this something bad like this, you just keep living on until it strikes.
Yeah, I don't remember the exact like words, but I kind of remember vaguely on like the
I'm trying to
at
think.
least the sort of message.
I'm trying to think as well of a good
Um,
part.
I think like it started off with like we could either stay here and basically basically off themselves. I don't remember if there was like a third option, but I know that the other option that Riley had mentioned to Ellie was that they
Like,
could
oh yeah,
stay
so
there and then like lose their minds together.
like yeah, it's like Riley's like, well, because it's like when you're bit, if you don't want to go through all the transitions, the only thing. So with all infections, the only thing they like to get to is here. They'll go where the infection is. The infection will do its thing, get to the nerves, get to the muscles, and just start it like your body will start fighting it. But hold up, we're gonna be right back to at least give you. We'll be right back. We'll just do a little quick research on quotes. So give us I figured it. So AJ kind of pretty much said it of the quote saying we can all be all poetic and lose our minds together. So in the beginning, in the little part, she does say like, we could just end it. Just
Yeah.
they had guns on them. They were prepared just for anything that happens. And they have their guns. They're just saying, well, we could do this, but it's like almost like not the cowardly way out, but it just felt like
Well, I think what they were trying to say, I don't know if it was about the doing the coward way out. I think it was more just like them being
well,
like,
this is
well, we're bitten, so we should
according
just kind
to
of give
according to my
up.
research from a website called Etsy. They describe it what the line reflects on, and it reflects on her impulsive and romantic nature in her deep connection with Ellie. Another quote shows Riley's defiant spirit and her bond with Ellie. There are a million. Oh yeah, this was the line. There are a million ways we should die before today, and a million ways that we can die before tomorrow. But we fight for every second we get with each other. So like we because they're in love, so we can just end it together, or we can just at least live together and see what happens. Because they weren't sure, because because in the game they didn't tell you how when you get bit, like how long does it take. a day, a month, an hour, a year, 2 years, 6 months. You don't know, but like in the game, it never really described that. But
I don't think they do. I don't
but
remember them doing that.
as
But in the show, they definitely have like a idea of like how long it takes or a estimated like number at best.
But it's just like when that happened. I mean, for me, like just a little off script here. For me, I like to make pretty like heavy sort of tributes, and I just feel like when you hear that tribute from Riley, and if you play the Last of Us 2 game and how it ended, it kind of like for me when I did that, it fit in a way because it's
Oh,
like
with the ending?
with the end when I did Last of Us 2 ending and I used Riley's quote.
Ooh.
I did that. That was a long edit. It was an old edit I made, but
I
no,
don't
but
think you showed me that.
oh, okay. Well, I'll show it to you later. But continuing on. But this is where it's sad, and we don't know the mystery. But Ellie kind of portrayed it to Joel later on. We
Yeah,
don't know what happened. So
Ellie definitely kind of
for Ellie
gives it
though,
that example.
this is where the guilt began. So what
Oh yeah.
we don't know how long it happened or how long they must have walked, go to some mall area just for the last fun because they think they will both die, both turning into infected. But we don't know as time went on. Fortunately for Riley, the infection got to her quicker than Ellie, and she figured like, oh, maybe it's just I'm taking long because I'm maybe the youngest. Because like the infections and it's a
Yeah,
younger.
didn't they say that like Riley was just like a year older than
Yeah,
Ellie or like
yeah,
two
right.
years older?
Yeah, I think at least 2 years. Riley was the oldest, and Ellie was the youngest.
I know that they said at least for sure that they were at least close to age, I believe. But Ellie was definitely a little younger than Riley was.
But so we don't know what happened. We don't know if Ellie eliminated Riley or just which
Oh
is
no, she confirmed that.
okay.
Yeah, she definitely she didn't exactly word it to like actually say she did it, but the way you hear Ellie talk about what happened to Riley after, you get the impression that Ellie put her down.
Okay.
That's probably a
I was
horrible
about to say 'cause the
way
worst.
of phrasing that,
I
but
know, but I just thought the worst way is that you leave him in a room.
yeah, I don't know. See, for me, I feel like the best way to deal with that situation, if it's somebody that you really care about, you have to and you have to kill them.
So that
And
so
it's
that
just sorry. I was gonna say it's just in my opinion, if you really cared about them, then I feel like it would be necessary for you to at least let them rest both like physically and spiritually in a sense, you know?
mhm.
So that's my take on it.
Yeah, but it's just like when it happened, and this is where the guilt is. She didn't know. It's like, oh, she doesn't know, but it's like when she got bit. Okay, that we're probably gonna stop with the game. You should play it. It's on PS. Well, it's a PS4. You can able to play on PS5. Last was
Yeah,
part
you could also if you
play
have a PlayStation 3, you could still play the first game on there
if you
if you
have.
have one. Yeah, if you have one.
It's on PS4, PS5. It's a PlayStation game, but we'll stop it from there. And I guess for now, let's just go in a little like not theory or conspiracies, but in a way, it's about Ellie's infection. So
Yes.
in the show, they discovered when they so you watch the show of the journey, but at the end, Ellie's with the fireflies. reunited with them, you could say. And so they did like a little brain scan because they had still electricity at a hospital in Utah, Salt Lake City.
I think that was in Colorado.
No, it's Utah.
Or was it in Utah?
No, it's Utah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's all good.
Goes Silver Lake, right?
Yes. No, it's Utah.
I could swear they said that was like Silver Lake, Colorado. Or
Well, that was before
I'm
they.
probably getting my
That's before
geography
they went to
mixed
Utah.
up.
Well, that's before they went to Utah. Now my geography might be messed up, but
Yeah, I'm not great with geography, so apologies.
it's all good. So when they got the not cap, well, they captured, but we reunited with Ellie. They did a brain scan and they noticed that the cordyceps. So she is immune in a way that, like, when the cordyceps gets to her brain, it's like her like, yeah. I don't know how to really try to explain this in a simple manner.
Do you want me to take over a bit?
Yeah, take over this.
Okay.
Take over this little part.
So I had a whole thought theory process thing that I had came up with Amon a couple, I think after the first season of the show came out, I think. And I thought maybe that because of how the cordyceps grew around Ellie's brain and it still allowed her to be her and not infected, was that during the moment her mother was bitten, I think due to the pregnancy hormones and her being a newborn baby, I think that really kind of saved her a bit from getting completely infected, like how most people usually do. And and I believe that the reason why Ellie is, in a sense, immune is actually because her being a newborn baby, a newborn, really set the cordyceps on a similar kind of growth, but in a more symbiotic like relationship. So she is kind of like a host, but she can't get other people infected, and she can't get infected. So it gives her a sense of immunity because she is infected, just not in the normal sense of the infection.
So
Which
when the doctor,
yeah, no, go on. I was trying to see if I might have anything else to add, but I don't think I come up with any.
when the
I think I
doctor,
kind of explained that whole section
yeah,
enough.
no, like, I think like for me that kind of opened my I don't know if we talked about it when we chatted a little, but I don't recall you saying
Well,
that.
we might have.
That was new. That might be new to me. But so when the doctor discovered this and they realized, like, wait, we could make a vaccine, not a cure, but we can at least make something from this to now people can at least have some fight. So in reality, there was
Well,
never
they
really,
definitely did call it a cure, but in reality, it was going to be more of a vaccine.
yeah, like, but it's like something that can at least suppress this, something that can at least suppress the cordyceps. So this is like this is like Mother's Nature's disease. So it's something you can't really science.
It's not something you could like for surely cure out of somebody. Because I think even when scientists have like tried, I guess in a sense, experimenting with maybe like trying to cure some of the like insects that are infected with cordyceps, they haven't necessarily came up with any good results.
So who knows? But actually, since you say that, we don't know even during when the outbreak occurred if the CDC in this world try to make something, but they couldn't. So we don't know entirely. But So when they discover that, they're like, wait, we can pretty much make a cure. Like this could save us. But here's the issue: you have to get it right from the brain itself, right? Like right where the brain stem to right, like, cause it sits like right inside. So you literally gotta like open her brain up pretty much.
Yeah.
And
So
just enough.
basically the choice was either save whatever percentage of humanity that was left alive still and not infected by the cordyceps, or take that risk, but you kill Ellie.
So yeah, that was the choice.
Yeah.
And so there was a little not debate. There's never really a debate, but there's just like there was a decision, and we'll tell you who the specific surgeon of who the character is of another character. We'll get to
I
that.
still don't think they actually gave the surgeon
His name.
no, never mind, they did. They
yeah,
did in the second game during one of the flashbacks with Abby.
Yeah,
I almost forgot about that. I was just like, I don't think they actually gave him a name. And then I remembered that they did actually say, I think, a name for him. And it slipped my mind for a moment.
I can't, and also I can't recall if they approved it, but I don't know if like the doctor pretty much not forced his hand, but he just kind of pushed it.
Well, it was okay. So the doctor, they do show this in the game. I don't know if they're going to show it in the show. They might change it. I don't know. But the doctor and Marlene, the leader of the Fireflies, have this conversation in his office at the hospital. And basically Marlene is understanding the risks and obviously understands the consequences and the means of the necessary value of what she's being told. And the doctor basically, he does convince her to approve of it. But he basically tells Marlene that we have a chance to possibly make everything right. And it all starts with this little girl named Ellie. And unfortunately, she is going to have to die in order to produce this cure, in a sense. But with Marlene, because knowing that Joel, who she basically hired along with Tess at the time, early on, decided that, okay, well, fine, I'll approve of this, but somebody has to tell Joel. And the doctor basically is just like, why? He doesn't, his job is done. His importance here is basically no longer needed. And Marlene kind of, I guess you could kind of say, backlashed at the doctor. And it was just like, well, he traveled halfway across the country with her.
You know, folks, this journey went from Boston, Massachusetts, all the way to the west, all the way to Wyoming,
to Salt Lake,
from Boston to Texas to Pittsburgh. Well, I'm saying Texas because I'm thinking of the show, but it was it was really from Boston to Pittsburgh all the way to all the way to West Virginia, and then West Virginia all the way to Colorado, and Colorado.
They had also gone into Wyoming. I know that.
Oh, yeah, Wyoming.
Yeah. I mean, they basically traveled literally cross country, most of the part on foot, mind you. That is
and horseback.
A long journey.
Some cars, if they were fun.
Yeah, some cars, and then a horse. But for the most part, it was on foot.
So just
But
imagine
again,
that.
that is a long journey.
Just imagine that to try to survive. To one parts of we don't know of like Pittsburgh. What happened in Pittsburgh? What happened in Colorado? What happened? Like we don't because you don't know because you're from your own wherever place you live. But so yeah, that's our little breakdown of just a little of the game and like just want to go down a little theory, well, not theory, but at least the rabbit hole of the whole immunity because I don't
Yeah.
before we end it, but like before we end this little segment, I think Age and I might have talked, and it's like this is the issue. Let's just say they did it. What if it doesn't work?
Yeah. That
Because
was
like,
something that I
if you
think.
take a lot of people might have broke this down enough, but like if you take the little sample, you pull it, so Ellie's gone, you take it out of her, Ellie's dead, and you do your little sampling thing and try to. But here's the thing: you're going to try to do what probably maybe who knows the government in that world try to do of making a vaccine or making supplies. You saw how people got
What
carried away.
also you also gotta put in the variables of the time it would take to even produce a said vaccine of this production in a sense is I mean we also don't know exactly how long it could take them to actually
We're
fully
just saying if
succeed
let's just
in
say
making it.
if Joel, if Joel left, he did his part. He heads back. He goes probably goes back to like Wyoming or something. He's gone. He drove away, and Ellie, Ellie's done. She's dead. But if the amount of the time they would maybe prep that, civilization could already be dead either from each other or from the infected.
Yeah, because the dangers in this sense isn't just the infected, it's also the living, the like uninfected people. I mean, that is also a huge danger, which we do see in the second game and the second season of the show as well, is that it really takes a lot more danger away from the infected than it does other people.
So now we're
And
gonna.
I like that.
So now we're gonna. So now we're gonna go a little like drama real quick here. Um, so season one, pretty much a masterpiece. They did really well with the
Oh
game.
God,
So then they
perfect.
went. So then they do season two, and if you play the game, you know what happened. And this is where it just collapsed.
I think
It
I
lost.
gotta say I think
I don't know the exact number, but it lost a good like
it lost like half of the
I think like
original
half
like
half the
walkers.
people, half the watchers just didn't like it because in the game they we so I guess one little segment we could say Ellie kind of goes back to the romance that she had with Riley, but goes to a character named Dina, and
I gotta say that is also a cute couple. That just in my opinion.
we won't go in depth in that, but Ellie gets in a little romance with another female character named Dina. But that aside, and the like sure you could blame the writing. Sure, it gets a little cheesy on the way they try to approach it from the game.
I
Yada
think it's
yada.
also the some of the changes that they also do but still slightly trying to incorporate the main like story that was based off the game. And I think that might be a huge part of it.
This is probably just make things a bit heated for people to see this, but Last of Us season 2 is still a good season. I don't care.
I
It's still a
loved
good
season
season.
2.
I mean, it's not better than season 1, sure, but season 2, the way they
Well,
did it,
yeah,
the way they did
they they did a good job.
you just gotta accept it.
They did their best.
I mean, like, we'll see if we're getting hate with that because A lot of people.
Yeah, I'm positive we're gonna probably get at least some comments about
some comments
it a little bit.
about
But
that part.
I honestly, at this point, I don't care. You could say whatever about season 2. I'm still gonna absolutely fucking love it, just because. I mean, with what they did, I think trying to change a little bit from the game's main aspects and kind of make the show their own, like, unique story, but still keep it based off the game story, is they did a good job, at least in my opinion, for the most part. There were maybe some things I didn't necessarily like, but other than that, they did the best that they could. And at the end of the day, that's really what matters,
Actually,
in my opinion.
before we get to the drama, I know I mentioned about the tiers of infection, so let's break that down real quick. So when a human gets bit, you might see in other movies like The Walking Dead, you're kind of become like a loner or a walker, where you just kind of like, or a roamer, some people call it, where it's like you get bit.
Yeah, I think in The Last of Us they call it like runners.
Yeah, but like I'm just comparing a little bit, just because.
Yeah,
For the watchers of Walking Dead, when people get bit, they become like roamers, which is pretty much when you turn, you actually have a little self of yourself, knowing like you're standing at a place that you kind of like in a way remember, but you're dead. But it's like you have a little.
yeah. There's like a very small glimpse of what's left of you still inside, but it's mostly like the infection that takes over your, like, most of your uh mobility and thoughts, in a sense.
In Last of Us, the way the cordyceps works, when you get bit, the fungus kind of like works in your bloodstream, and it gets to your brain. But it really like it's kind of like you could think of drinking, like, if you watch those cartoon or animation when they drink energy drinks and you see them like running around. It's like that in a way, in a sense. The cordyceps, they kind of described this pretty well. The cordyceps is like since it gets to your nerves, your like your reaction and like your pay, like you're like so twitchy in a way, and like
Yeah,
since you're like turning, so it's not like you can run, not like the Flash, but you can like sprint.
your stamina is definitely heightened.
It's heightened.
It definitely enhances some of your physical attributes.
Sprint crazy. You literally like jump. It's
Yeah,
like
you could definitely like jump a little higher. You could run a little faster. Your strength is definitely a little like heightened even.
So like, but here, what's actually a little scary though, you could say, you're actually a little not like you're dead, but it's kind of like The Walking Dead. Your little part of you, because you can like in the game, it actually, if you listen to the zombies, you can actually hear them talking, like saying like they're like saying words.
Season 4 of the Telltale games for The Walking Dead really explains this well in like episode 3, I think.
So you become a runner, and that's like the regular zombie in this game.
Yeah, that's like the first stage of the infected.
But for some others, I don't know, it just depends when you get bit, maybe what the atmosphere is like. You get to a point where you become a stalker, and what happens is the cordyceps now, it controls your brain, but it's like as it grows out of you a little bit, you're like, as I said, like your senses now, instead of becoming a runner, you kind of become like a predator in a way. You're like, this is the word stalker. You're just watching like your prey from afar. So, but you have a little intelligence, because it's not like you just run at them. You wait until they're like someone behind, so they're not noticing. You just lurk. So that's like the term stalker. Then you get to a phase called the clicker. So the cordyceps.
Oh God.
So it's like the cordyceps, the fungus is literally grown so much that you're blind.
It literally takes away your sight, but
But
it
now, like
enhances your
not only that,
ears,
like
your
the
hearing.
cordyceps, it's just completely in your veins. It's like completely controlling your body. But it's like the
Ew, what?
fungus itself is like right here, covering your eyes, and the senses is just like kind of like bats, where you only hear like echolocation. You don't see, but as long as you hear it and you kind of like reach out and have a feel of surroundings, you can attack. And then it gets well. I don't know what's next. There's two tiers it could go to.
They I think for the first game they did it. I think the fourth stage was like the bloater. Yeah, the bloater.
So the bloater's pretty much like I don't know. This is probably depends on the mass of the human, pretty much. But like the cordyceps, kind of like gives you a shield, so you can take in bullets, arrows to a certain point. But the only thing that will kill you is fire. It will weaken you enough, and then you can die. And then it gets to
The
uh,
Shambler,
the
I think, was
shambler.
like the next one.
So the
That
shambler.
is
This is where
also
it gets
kind of the
good.
same as the bloater, but with this one, it has like a special ability
Well, it's
that
like
grants it.
so. I saw a little breakdown. It's like, let's just say if you get bit, but you hide underground to like a very warm area, so you turn, but it's like it's like so fast that like it almost like I don't know, not corroded, but like the fungus, it like opens, like you have spores, so like
Yeah. It also was said to burn like acid.
yeah,
Also,
so like it's like creepy enough. You still have a face partially, but
yeah.
overall wise,
Like I said, it's kind of similar to like the bloater, but the Shambler has its own unique ability,
and
which makes it terrifying.
that's pretty much the tiers. And there's just this
That
one
we know of,
that we
at
know of, but
least.
like there's this one specific zombie. It's just pretty much if you mold
It's a whole
all
just like
one,
boss fight in the game, and you
yeah,
only get to deal with it once. But it is a
it's pretty much
part of my language.
all of those
But it
infections
is a
except
bitch to
for
take down.
take out the runners, but you go from tier 2, 3, and well, maybe not 3, but maybe just do tier 2 to 4 and 5 and mold that together. You get this thing called a Rat King. And the reason they're calling it a Rat King
Yeah,
is because the the bloater, you get the armor of the bloater, you get the senses of a clicker, but you also get the hair, like you get the spores, which is like your hairy side. I don't know what the way to say it, but it's like
well,
it's
it kind of like also like how the Shambler does. It rips off part of themselves and throws it, and like a grenade, in a sense, like an impact grenade. And once it hits you or anything, it explodes with this like acidic cordyceps or whatever.
but
It
that those
doesn't turn you, but it burns you.
yeah, those are the tiers. So back to now, we're going to do a real quick here on just the drama that just kind of irritates us a little bit. That, or at least we just don't have like a complete understanding, but we understand sort of
Me
thing.
and Amon are, we understand the drama, but we just also kind of we proceed to just enjoy what we end up getting regardless, because I mean it's either you get what you get or you don't get anything, kind of thing.
So like we just talked about a little bit, going with the
Yeah.
whole what do we went with before we went back to
Oh, you were talking about the relationship between Dina and Riley, and then we were talking about the it could be the story or the writing, some
well,
other stuff.
did you okay? How about this? Did you like the writing?
I gotta say, I think the writing helped with some of the story. For example, I mean, slight spoilers if you haven't seen it. But with that one episode mentioning about the in the hospital where they blocked off that entire section, we never got that explanation in the game. There's some things that they completely added into the show, and it was like some extra detail that they could have like possibly taken out of the game. And it was like, all right, maybe this might be a little too much dialogue for the game. But with the show, I mean, it worked so well because the way that they talked about it and kind of introduced this like level of the hospital was just so nice for season 2. And then you also get the entire like kind of like a idea of the like treaty, the peace treaty between Isaac and the I don't remember what the title she was called, but it was the leader of the Seraphites, or as they called it, the Scars.
So Scars, just real quick what Scars are. Scars are actually a group of people that's like, so since humanity is dead, you kind of, there was I don't know, I'm trying to like quickly sum this up, but it's just a group of regular people that kind of live, instead of trying to like rebuild civilization, kind of go with the old world, the old ways.
Yeah, so they don't necessarily focus on trying to deal with electricity. They do have like some exceptions at times, depending on the circumstance, but they don't really focus on like electricity as we have it now. Like it is basically like all like flames, torches, that kind of thing for lighting.
Like search it up. There's a lot of people that might have broke it down in depth of like sure. what's the actual story of of this whole thing. But continue on, AJ, where you're at.
Oh no, I was just helping you kind of explain it a bit more.
Scars. But no, like you before that, but you were going on with weren't you going on with something? Scars. So you were going by the hospital and all that.
Yeah. I don't know. For me, it was just like getting that like extra details in the show that they didn't necessarily like explain a little bit or too much about in the game. It was so nice to actually get that sensation of just like the idea of, oh, well, so this is how we just closed off this bit of the hospital and kind of just left it there to be sealed off. So it's like getting the story of in the game when you basically, in a sense, with Ellie, you chase her down and you go into like this entire section of the hospital that was closed off that nobody should be going into because it's infected. It's infested with the cordyceps and the infection. And they don't necessarily give you that much detail about how that happens exactly, besides just like, oh, well, this was like ground zero when the outbreak happened for this city, for Seattle. So it was really unique for the show to actually give a little bit more detail on like with the WLF, or as the Scars or Seraphites call them, the Wolves, to be able to have an issue among them being like, oh, well, we lost some people today, and the last person who was still alive said, close this entire section off completely and don't open it up again. So to actually get that extra detail, I thought was phenomenal for the choice of the writing and to help with the storyline.
I mean, in the game.
Go on.
Well, I was saying, just real quick, like in the game, when you play the game, they actually kind of tell you, like you go to actually the surgery room, and you actually see what the doctors were trying to do with the infection.
Yeah.
So it's
Um,
sad.
it was nice though to be able to get some of the scenes where they kind of hint off a little bit about what happened, but for the show to actually give a little bit like a its own little like segment of a description, I thought was really nice. So I mean, going back to the question regarding like, did I like the writing? Yes. In most cases, for a lot of the stuff that they did in season two, yes, I love the writing. It was great. I think that sure, maybe they could have done a little better in some parts, and I mean that's with everything though. I mean, there's always going to be something about some like project or whatever gets put out there. It's always going to have like some issue with the writing where the audience may not agree with it entirely, or some parts are just like, I don't know. And maybe others are just like, well, they could have done this, maybe could have done that. But I mean, with what they did, I think I got to say they did pretty decent with what they thought up, at least. So I mean, I got to say, I think the writing, if I were to rate it like on a scale of 1 to 10, I'd say like a solid 6, maybe a 7 at the highest. But I wouldn't give it like a whole 8 or 9 or anything like that. But I mean, I definitely believe that it would be like a solid 6, maybe a 7.
All right, like I mean, for me, I mean, there's one scene that a lot of people did not like, but then actually now more I'm thinking of it, of why she kind of said it in a way that's like, oh, I'm gonna be a dad. Because if you think of it, if you go back to Ellie and Riley, I know, sure, it let you say it never got bit and life went on. Like, it just felt like for Ellie, going down a love path, sure, because like, like in today's world, well, I don't want to go. I don't want to go too deep in that, but I just feel like,
That'll be a conversation for another day.
but I I feel like that whole AJ. You probably know what I'm going to here, but
I believe I do. Once you said that, like the
I
line of
feel like
like I'm
that
gonna be a
scene.
dad, I was just
I feel
like
like
it
that
clicked.
scene is like I'm taking it away because it's like this is like in a way for Ellie because Ellie's on a rageful path, which you'll see why. So
Well, okay,
you can
I'm gonna
disagree.
let you finish this thought, and then I'm gonna add on to it because it
Well, you
it
can
kind of reminded
disagree
me
if
of
you want.
something.
I don't mind if you disagree.
Okay, well, because I know the scene you're talking about, I'm not gonna exactly completely spoil it because I know you probably want to tell it yourself. But I think with the scene you're talking about for the show, I gotta say it fits really well because the second game and obviously like season two of the Last
I
of
mean,
Us,
sure,
it really was
Go with
focused
Ab. I
about.
could also go with Abby's showing how
Well,
they did the
yeah,
revenge. I could go down
yeah,
that path, but
but I
I'm
mean
waiting for the next season.
with the second game of The Last of Us and the second season of The Last of Us show, I think that moment with Ellie and Dina, and Ellie's just like, I'm gonna be a dad, and her excitement, I think it was just such a like a recall to how Joel is with Ellie. I mean, once the like basically the outbreak happened and he lost his daughter, meeting Ellie and then like bonding with her through this journey, this entire like long journey that they had, it brought them closer. And in a sense, you got to understand, like Joel really saw Ellie as like his own child again. Like he found peace where he was mainly just destroyed by Sarah's death, his birth, his biological daughter. So him basically adopting Ellie as his own, this is kind of like a mirror representation of what they really wanted to focus on with Ellie in the second game and the second season, is that we all knew that the both of these for Ellie at this time was going to really focus on her. But we also knew at the same time it was also going to have Ellie reflect the way that Joel was for her in a sense. So I think her being like, "Oh, I'm a dad. I'm going to be a dad now." It's like Joel's reaction to, in a sense, adopting Ellie.
So yeah,
At least from my eyes.
Well, I mean, no, your eyes. I mean, the way you described it, it was like in a way that was kind of like my approach. It's like, and I'm just connecting. If you connect to Ellie and Riley in a way, it's like
Yeah,
to know for their journey, though it ended drastic. But if you imagine they never got bit and they lived on, like not because if for Dina to like have she well hey she we'll go and I don't know I can't sorry
what were you trying to say? Maybe I can help out.
because I actually can't. Oh, I'm sorry. My mind, my mind's trying to. I'm gonna try to like set it back a little bit. With. Well, I'm sorry. We'll have to call it here. I'm a bit lost for words. I'm a bit lost for words. All right, that's a way of ending it. But thanks for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed our review and just the drama and what we liked about it and what I guess the anger to it. But hope you enjoy. Make sure to watch the series, play the game. Let us know in the comments what you think. For the people that's seen it, what do you think?
Yeah,
bit of an awkward ending there, but hope.
I would definitely say, for sure, if you play the game and watch the series, or if you have already, comment down below on our video what you liked about it, what were things that you might have disliked about it, and maybe we could get into that in the next stream. We'll see about that.
All right, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for tuning in. Leave a like, subscribe. This is Weirdo Universe, where wonders take flight.